delighted and honored to welcome Professor Noam Chomsky today to Facing Future. Renowned author, political scientist, speaker of truth, and most of all, wise dissident who, like Socrates, has spent his life challenging power, policies, and institutions that are harming our planet and threatening our survival. Stuart Scott is the executive producer, founder, and guiding light of Facing Future. And although Stuart has cancer, he continues and is with us today. And I'm Dale Walkinen, a former professor of communications and Stuart's co-host. Welcome, Professor Chomsky.
So I thank you very, very much for taking the time to talk to us. Now,
very pleased.
So
tell me about yourself.
Well, as can be seen, I have a bit of a physical disability, more than simple one. I have cancer. I've got 4th stage cancer, and it has invaded the spine, and so I'm hunched forward. So we've adjusted everything, and you can see my ceiling so that I can see you. If I would look straight out, you wouldn't see me. So thank you very much for recording under these
Glad to have a chance to talk. What kinds of things are you doing and thinking about?
Well, I am thinking, I don't think about death at all. I'm not afraid of death. For me, it's a transition. I have a very, very solid spiritual grounding, I'll call it, but it's more esoteric. It's the way Socrates and Plato regarded death as transition.
He's looked forward to it. He's going to free his soul from the constraints of the body.
Yes.
So he could philosophize properly.
But I would like to ask you, and that might be a good place to start right there, is your view of your life and your own afterlife. What is your conviction about life and afterlife?
Well, I wish I could accept Socrates and Plato, but my own feeling is we have a certain time on earth. We should do the best of it that we can. Then we leave the world to others.
That works. Do the best while we're here and then leave it to others.
Okay, we're 100 seconds to midnight on the doomsday clock. We've always been several minutes, 12 minutes, 7 minutes.
Last January. We may even be closer now. I don't know if you saw it, but a couple of days ago, a draft report of the IPCC was leaked and published by the French press agency, a couple of newspapers. It's much more grim than the earlier reports. Well, this is a draft. By the time it reaches publication, they may tone it down, but it doesn't look good. With regard to nuclear weapons, situation is more dangerous than it was at the time of the last report. New weapon systems are being developed, very destructive ones. The confrontation, the Biden administration, much to my distress, has expanded on the confrontational status of the Trump administration. Biden's trip to NATO basically instructed NATO to adopt something like the strategic planning of the Trump administration, preparation for 2 wars against China and Russia, which is beyond insanity. I mean, no words for it. They're also carrying out provocative acts in areas where diplomacy and negotiations are required. Now, remember that the Bulletin of Atomic Science, the Doomsday Clock report that you're citing, had 3 basic reasons why they were keeping the clock at 100 seconds to midnight. One was global warming, one was nuclear war, the third was disinformation, the collapse of any rational discourse, which makes it impossible to deal with the 2 major problems. That's gotten much worse. I mean, among Republicans, there's almost a disappearance of even a pretense of rational discourse. 25% of Republicans believe that the government is run by an elite of satanic pedophiles who are engaged in sexual trafficking of children. 70% of Republicans believe that the election was stolen. It goes on. 15% of Republicans think that global warming is a serious problem. We're living in a world of total illusion and fantasy. And unless that's changed significantly and rapidly, it's not going to be possible to deal with the major issues, nuclear war, global warming, within the time span that we have available, which is not very long. I mean, you've seen the reports of UFOs that the government can't identify. Presumably it's nothing, but if we like to believe that there are aliens on those UFOs, if they're reasonable, they would be fleeing from the Earth as rapidly as they can to get away from this.
We identify people with their job, and the jobs that we need to change are coal miners. People are not permanent or defined by their job as we have it in our society. But we have a sunrise movement. There's a young movement that wants to have a civilian climate corps with green jobs and training. Do you think that Biden company could get this through despite the Republican obstructionism?
Well, actually, that's one area where there's good news. The United Mine Workers, the major in West Virginia, Wyoming, the main coal mining areas, just agreed, the president of the mine workers agreed to a program of transitioning mine workers from coal mining to sustainable energy, with government programs to help them financially make the transition, move to better jobs, better lives, cap the coal mines. And in California, oil-based state, 19 unions just agreed to a similar program. Of course, that's not a very expensive program. There aren't that many people involved. They can be easily helped to move towards better jobs, better life, and save us from the destruction. Most of that is work by my friend and co-author, Robert Pollin. We had a joint book on this, on the global Green New Deal recently, mainly based on his work. He's done extensive scholarly work, on careful work, on feasible ways to overcome the climate crisis. But he's also been an activist, working hard with unions and local communities to try to work on how they can adapt themselves to the change that has to take place. And there's been success on those fronts. So that's good news. If you want some
Yes.
bad news, the OPEC, the oil producing cartel, is meeting right now. And according to the reports in the business press, they're planning to increase investment and production of fossil fuels because the price is going up. Totally suicidal. Saudi Arabia is the major country. They can produce more fossil fuels and gain more wealth for the super rich who run the country. Meanwhile, the country will be destroyed. It'll be uninhabitable in a few years. But whatever's going on in the minds of human beings, they are capable of saying, let's destroy ourselves, let's destroy life for our children, because I can make a few more dollars tomorrow, which I don't have anything to do with. That's the world we live in. And we're seeing a lot of that. I mean, even on the COVID crisis, which is serious, but much less serious than, say, the climate crisis. I mean, the wealthy countries are basically monopolizing vaccines for themselves, few gestures to the rest of the world. But the leaders who do this know that this policy is suicidal for themselves. If we don't rapidly vaccinate Latin America, Asia, Africa, the virus will mutate, as it's already doing. There will be new forms which are more lethal, more contagious, that we won't be able to control. They'll come back to the rich countries. But even knowing that, the leadership of our own countries, the most educated, civilized, advanced countries in the world, are saying, let's monopolize the vaccines for ourselves and not send them to people who need them. It's astonishing. If there is any extraterrestrial intelligence, which I rather doubt, but if there is, and if it's watching what's happening on Earth, they wouldn't believe it.
Well, we lack an understanding of ourselves as human beings. The quote, Homo sapien is almost a laughable meme, as we are not wise beings, not wise men. We identify ourselves with our nationality. We're French, we're American, or with our state even. I'm from Mississippi, I'm from Arkansas. Instead of understanding ourselves as human beings first. Do you think there's a way that, through the forces of our technology and our society, we might be able to reawaken that awareness of humanity as all of us together? Do you see any hope in that direction?
There has to be a way. There are opportunities. We have ways of reaching people, trying to persuade them, bring them to comprehend the enormity of what we face and what has to be done. The opportunities do exist. Evaluate how likely success is, but we do know that we have to dedicate ourselves with energy and commitment to using the opportunities that we have to try to achieve much time. We don't have much time. If the Republicans come back to office next year, 2024, maybe too late. The programs they were pursuing, particularly under Trump, offer no hope for survival. Going back to the doomsday clock, which you mentioned, as I'm sure you know, every year that Trump was in office, the minute hand was moved closer to midnight. Finally, the analysts just gave up. It's shifted from minute hands to the second hand. And if they return to power, it's very likely that it will be probably a death knell for organized human society. There are, however, opportunities. Now we have to grasp them. Doesn't matter what the probability is. We don't know anyway, but it can be done. And we don't have a lot of time to do it.
Well, we are makers of memes in our society. We paraphrase, we send down echo chambers of our own making certain ideas. This can be a sword that goes both ways, of course. There can be satanic pedophiles, and there can also be there is no planet B, Fridays.
We do get caught in echo chambers. That's one of the tragedies of the internet. There was hope that the internet would provide opportunities for education, enlightenment, informing one another, deliberating with one another. It's happened to some extent, but it's been pretty much overwhelmed by what you just described, the tendency to retreat into bubbles of self-reinforcement, separating ourselves from others, not speaking to others.
Motivated by money, motivated by advertising. Those bubbles are created as audiences to sell to.
Well, we do live in a global civilization. Our products come from all over the world. Our food comes from all over the world. This has been consumerism on a grand scale, but global civilization could also mean something positive. It could mean laws and agreements where we actually come together, and we actually do need a global agreement.
It's a possibility.
We're herd animals. We follow a leader. Do you see any leaders that you would admire or you think can guide us out of this?
I think there are decent and respectable people in the leadership class, but the change has got to come from below. It's got to come from the general population. So let's take a concrete example. Right now, Congress has passed a resolution, not legislation, but a resolution calling for a Green New Deal, was introduced by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ed Markey, senior senator from Massachusetts. It's a very good proposal. It's a detailed proposal which is very similar to the ideas of the International Energy Association of my colleague, Robert Pollin, who's done the most detailed work on this, touches all the bases, shows what we have to do, very feasible, less expenditures than the Treasury used to bail out Wall Street after the COVID epidemic. It's not without reach. It's, how did it get there? Well, it got there extensive activism, groups like the Sunrise Movement, young people who have been working hard, occupied Nancy Pelosi's office, got some support from Ocasio-Cortez and Markey. We're trying to blockade entries to the White House to try, as a protest, to try to get them to move this forward, move it from resolution to legislation. So there are, to answer your question, there are good people like Ocasio-Cortez and Markey, but they're not going to get anywhere unless there's extensive popular pressure compelling the legislative authorities, Congress, the White House to pursue these objectives. Perhaps you recall, there's an anecdote which may or not be true about Franklin Delano Roosevelt back in the mid-1930s, who said he wanted to pass New Deal legislation. He said, "You have to make me do it. I can't do it myself. You have to make me do it by creating the public pressure and understanding which will carry these measures through." And that's in fact what happened. CIO organizing, militant labor action, lots of political activism and organizing reached a point where the Supreme Court, there was just like today, a very reactionary Supreme Court, it switched. Instead of killing all the legislation, began to authorize it. Business community reluctantly accommodated to the New Deal programs. We moved forward to a better world. This is my childhood. I remember it very well. The memories are very much alive. Well, we're in a similar situation. If Biden is not Roosevelt, but if he can be pressured by an organized activist public, there's a chance. There's a chance that we can get over these crises. It's certainly not going to be easy. We might also remember something else about the 1930s. My childhood again. There was a deep depression, much worse than anything we've seen since. Mass starvation, pretty awful, all over most of the world, not just the United States. There were basically two ways out. One way out was the New Deal, social democracy. The other way out was fascism. Well, it's not the 1930s, but basically we have something like those choices.
Fascism seems to be on the rise around the world. We have people like Bolsonaro and even the Indian president Modi doing incredibly despicable. The vaccines are made in India and they're exporting them to the rest of the world while their people die. But I wonder, the law, Yale Doctorow said, whatever name protects privilege, but the law can also be this powerful tool that we need to create laws. Do you have faith in legal challenges? Can we rein in the fossil fuel industry with legal remedies?
No, I've been very silent compared to my usual activity. I'll apologize for that as part of my condition. But in this particular point, I'd like to interject. There's a heck of a lot going on in the legal domain. The agenda, I'll call it movement in the Netherlands that got the Supreme Court of the Netherlands to say that the Netherlands were not doing enough. And then they went back a second time and got the same judgment. It's like, I told you once, I told you twice, get with it. I happen to know a couple of the attorneys who are part of that. Unfortunately, attorneys are not trained activists, and so we need activism around them to create the pressure in many countries for legal remedies.
That's correct. It's the activist pressure that can create the environment in which more progressive, constructive decisions and legislations can take place. Without them,
Without them, I fear the worst.
Well, it behooves us all to put pressure and to get to the streets and to continue to affect our politicians and to continue to, whatever the phone calls and letters may seem hopeless, they still are necessary for any hope of changing the way that the laws work in this land.
They're not hopeless, though. That's a misconception. Click signing an online petition is almost valueless. It's like a few thousand signatures, who cares? If you write that one letter, it's worth several thousand click signs. So my idea of activism is get out those shoes and clean them off and go down there and slam your hand down and say, I demand that you take
go
action.
down. Sorry, you were talking about your form of activism, your
My
model.
my favorite form of activism is to advise people to go down to the office of their congressional delegation and slam their hand down and say, I demand that you take action on this. Whoa, how many people come in here and demand anything of us? Then you're talking about 1,000,000 to 1 shot, 1,000,000 to 1.
Very true. That's how the Sunrise Movement managed to get the movement on the Green New Deal going,
Yes.
by occupying the office of
Yes.
Nancy Pelosi. That was effective.
Well,
Okay.
thank you so much for talking with us. I know
Well,
how busy you are. I know how
well, there's a lot of work to do on all these issues. Wonderful to have a chance to talk to you.
thank you so much.
To paraphrase Socrates, dissidents like gadflies may be easy to swat, but the cost to society of silencing their constant buzzing is very high. We hope that humanity will not pay the ultimate price for its failure to listen to you. Thank you, Noam. It's been an honor and a privilege to speak with you today. Bye.